In 1980, a boomer could buy a house for three times their annual salary. Today, you'd need to work 12 years straight without spending a single dollar on food, rent, or existing to afford that same house. But somehow, it's your fault for buying coffee. Let me guess, you're lazy, entitled, and addicted to your phone, right? That's why you can't afford the life they handed themselves on a silver platter? Yeah, it's time we talk about this. Welcome back to Priced Out. I'm your host, and today we're having the conversation nobody wants to have, but everyone needs to hear. Look, this isn't about hating on old people. My grandma's cool. Your grandfather probably makes decent pancakes. This is about a generation that pulled the ladder up behind them and then spent 40 years lecturing us about not trying hard enough to climb it. Because here's the thing. Boomers didn't just inherit a better economy. They've actively rigged it in their favor, locked in their advantages, and then this is the beautiful part, convinced themselves that it was all merit. Self-made legends, every single one of them. Just ignore the subsidized college, the $30,000 homes, the pensions, the job security, and the fact that a part-time summer job could pay for a semester of school. So let's break down exactly how they rigged the game and why they're so mad at you for not winning a game where they changed all the rules. Let's start with housing, because this is where the math gets absolutely criminal. In 1970, the median house price was about 23,000. Median income, 8,700, which is about 2.7 times the annual income. In 2024, the median house price is closer to 700,000 and median income is about 55,000, which is closer to 12.7 times the annual income. So when your boomer boss tells you just save up for a down payment, remind him that his house costs less than your student loans. My dad loves telling the story of how he bought his first house at 24. Saved up for 2 years, he says proudly, and how he really had to sacrifice. I tell him, yeah, Dad, you saved up $5,000 working part-time at a gas station. I need to save up 140,000 working full-time in marketing. Totally the same thing. But here's the kicker. It's not just that houses were cheaper. Boomers actively made them more expensive for everyone else. NIMBY zoning laws, which stands for not in my backyard, restricting new construction, turning houses into investment vehicles instead of, places to live. Every policy has been designed to protect their property values and screw everyone else trying to get in. And then I love this part. They act confused when you're still renting at 30. They tell you, when I was that age, I already owned a house. Or they get really offensive and they say, have you tried just not being poor? My neighbor bought his house in 1983 for $67,000. Zillow says it's worth 850,000 now. He didn't do any work, he didn't improve it, didn't add value, just existed while artificial scarcity did the work. That's not wealth creation, that's wealth extraction from younger people to older folks. But sure, tell me more about avocado toast. Next up, jobs. Because nothing says rigged system like destroying job security and then calling the next generation lazy for not having careers. In 1980, 60% of American workers had pensions. Today, it's only 15%. But don't worry, they've replaced them with 401ks that crash every decade and expect you to become a financial expert on top of your actual job. My uncle worked the same job for 35 years. Same company, steady raises, full benefits, pension that pays 80% of his salary for life, and he retired at 62. Me, I've had 7 jobs in 5 years because companies keep restructuring and resizing or pivoting to new opportunities, which is corporate speak for we're firing you to boost quarterly profits. But somehow I'm the one with commitment issues or I'm a job hopper. You want to know what $20 an hour meant in 1980? About $65 today. McDonald's managers were making the equivalent of $65 an hour when you factor in inflation and things like that. Today, McDonald's managers make around $20 an hour. So when boomers say I started at the bottom too, yeah, but your bottom had a ladder. Our bottom has a trapdoor. They had union, job security, benefits, pension, clear career progression. The whole work your way up thing actually worked because companies invested in long-term employees. We have gig work, constant layoffs, benefits tied to employment that disappear when you need it most, And the advice is to just switch jobs every 2 years to increase salary. Great system, guys. Really builds loyalty and stability. Oh, and internships. Remember when those actually paid learning opportunities? Now they're just free labor disguised as valuable experience. We can't thank you, but think of exposure. That's often what you hear around internships, but you can't pay rent with exposure. Now, let's talk about education because this might be the most evil part of the whole scam. In 1980, average college tuition was around 1,500 a year. Adjusted for inflation, that's about 5,400 today. Whereas today, average annual tuition is around 35,000 per year. So college costs have increased around 650% beyond inflation. But sure, the problem is that we're not working hard enough. My mom paid for her college with a summer job. Literally worked at a restaurant for 3 months and paid for the whole year. I worked two jobs through college and graduated with $47,000 in debt for a degree that boomers essentially got for free. But here's the really messed up part. They didn't just make college expensive, they made it mandatory. You often hear this. You need a degree to get a good job. College is investment for your future or it'll pay for itself. Cool. So you made college 10 times more expensive and then convinced us we'd be failures without it. It's not predatory at all. And when we graduate into the worst job market since the Great Depression with massive debt loads, what do they say? Oh, you should have chosen a better major. Maybe try working harder. Have you considered cutting down on avocado toast? Meanwhile, they're still sitting on trillion-dollar government contracts that they got with high school diplomas. And the best part, they keep cutting education funding while lecturing us about personal responsibility. Education is important, but we're not paying for it. Figure it out yourself. Also, you're selfish if you don't have kids to fund our social security, said every boomer. The audacity is honestly impressive. But the absolute worst part isn't even the rigged economics, it's the gaslighting. Every single conversation about economic hardship gets derailed by some boomer explaining how we're not just trying hard enough. Back in my day, we walked uphill both ways. You kids just want everything handed to you. Maybe stop buying lattes and you could afford a house. Right, the $5 latte is definitely the problem, not the $500,000 increase in housing costs. But here's what kills me. They genuinely believe their success was merit-based. They can't acknowledge the structural advantages they had because it would undermine their entire self-concept. My friend's dad always brags about how he worked his way through college. True story. He works part-time at a bookstore and paid full tuition with no debt. Today, that same job pays maybe $12 an hour, and tuition at the same school is $28,000 a year. So you need to work 60 hours a week, year round, just for tuition, not counting books, housing, food, or any other cost of living expenses. But when we point this out, we're just making excuses. They'll say things like, I bought my first house at 25. Yeah, for 40,000 when you made 35,000. Or I worked my way up from the mailroom. Cool. Companies just don't promote that way anymore, though. Or another one, I paid off my student loans in 5 years. Congratulations, though. They only cost 8,000 in total, so totally understandable. It's like playing a video game on easy mode and then lecturing people playing on veteran difficulty about not being good enough at the game. The complete lack of self-awareness is honestly baffling. But here's the thing they don't understand. We're not sitting around crying about it. We're adapting. While they're busy explaining why we're failures, we're building completely new economic models. Gig economy, that's us creating income streams from nothing. Social media careers, we turn personality into profit. Remote work, we broke geography's monopoly on opportunity. Tiny houses, co-living, nomad lifestyles, we're redefining what success looks like. We're learning skills on YouTube that they paid 100,000 to learn in college. We're starting businesses with laptops that they need millions in startup capital for. We're literally creating the future while they're still mad that the past is over. Cryptocurrency, AI, renewable energy, electric vehicles, every major innovation of the last decade came from people our age who got tired of waiting for the old system to work. But you know what's funny? Now they want in. Now they're asking us to explain NFTs and TikTok and why everyone's working from home. So suddenly we're not so lazy and entitled. Look, we didn't choose to inherit a broken system, but we're damn sure going to try our best to fix it, with or without help. All right, that was a lot. If you made it this far, you're probably feeling some type of way about this. Hit that like button if this resonated, not just for the algorithm, although it helps, but it tells me you want more of this type of content, calling out this generational wealth transfer disguised as moral failure. Comment section, I'm sure will be wild on this one. I want to hear your stories. What's the most out of touch thing a boomer has said to you about money? What back in my day story made you want to cringe so hard? Share this with someone who needs to hear it, especially if they're beating themselves up for not achieving milestones that were literally impossible to hit. And obviously, subscribe if you want to know more BS takes on economic reality. We're building a community of people who are tired of being gaslit about their financial struggles. And let me know what kind of video you want next. All right, take care, everyone.